Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to Boston. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Sorry, today was just a bit of a rough one, and also our Wi-Fi is down.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer. How you boys doing today?
Jeff!
Look, I'll tell you right now that exposing my eyes and my brain to Instagram at any point in my life has made me coach. So I'm excited to get this underway.
Oh my goodness. Well, gentlemen, we are celebrating something today, and we're celebrating our 150th episode about TV pilots here at TV Pilot's License.
Our sesquicentennial.
Oh boy, that is a word that Rich is definitely knew before this episode.
I sure did.
But before we dive into Cheers today, Max, can you let folks know what this podcast is all about?
Yeah, here's to 148 TV pilots, 1 all in-flight questions, and 1 Emmys preview. Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilots and making us want to watch more, and if they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. Smash subscribe and like buttons. It helps us so much and takes nothing from you. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, to get us prepared to talk about Cheers, what is your in-flight question, or your question of the day, excuse me?
Well, just like New York is the 5th character in Sex and the City, the bar seems to be the, 9th character. I'm going to make that up in Cheers. But obviously this entire pilot centers around Sam Malone, the owner of Cheers. Sam Malone is canonically a washed-up former big league pitcher. And I want to know, what is your post-retirement Major League Baseball? If you're a washed-up Major League Baseball player, what is the local business that you start that everyone wants to hang out at?
Ooh. Max?
I'm gonna go with I'm getting a little like shoppy shop, like those kinds of like boutique stores that don't have anything in particular but have everything in particular.
Sure.
And you would just like hang out there. We have like pop-ups for foods, and we have artisanal nut butters and whatever else. I'm just getting like the coolest little shoppy shop in town. I'm setting up on some Main Street, USA, in a nice suburb of the city I made my name in. And I've got this place that's just like always involved with all the events in town. And I'm using my branding. I'm sponsoring Little League teams. I'm sponsoring events at the schools. I'm getting at least one thing at the school named after me. And I'm just becoming like the little catch-all corner store in town.
I love that so much, because I took this very literally, Rich, of like, what is a business that a washed up baseball player might own? And then I was like, wait a minute, washed laundromat. I would own a laundromat because I need to launder money that I am taking under the table, because I'm signing things and saying that's $100. That's absolutely what I'm doing. Boy, oh boy, I would even call it washed. Jeff's washed laundromat, because that would be a delight, at least for me. But also, I'm also here to say, Rich, I thought about this question of what baseball player should open a business.
Sure.
Mike Piazza, why don't we have a pizza parlor?
Sure.
I mean, it is right there for you. Because
his name isn't Mike Pizza? Because that'd be...
You know what?
It was when I was 6.
Yeah, exactly. To all the 6-year-olds from the 90s who are now in their 30s.
Self.
Exactly. Where is the pizza parlor, Mike? I beg of you to answer this question. You own so many soccer teams in Italy. Why don't you own a pizza parlor?
He does?
Yes, we can talk about that off the air.
Okay.
Rich, what is your business?
Well, his name literally translates to plaza, so I think you could have an entire shopping center.
You're acting like I know. You act like I know Italian. That's a big mistake.
Well, a pizza is like the plaza of bread, and the toppings are the stores.
Yeah.
This will be
And
my
the
final
crust
episode.
literally is the
TV
border.
All right, for me, I gotta go sandwich shop. I gotta go sandwich shop. All the sandwiches. I gotta have the best meatball parm in town or something like that. But all the sandwiches are named after my former teammates or people who have struck me out at some point.
If you played for the Mets or the Yankees, you could call your sandwich shop the Subway Series. I think that would be.
Oh my
ooh,
God, Jeff,
I know.
we are going into business. Max, sign off right now.
Somebody sign us to the major league for one game. One game.
Yeah, I'm ready to die a San Diego Padre.
Oh,
Tillamook Cheddar, sponsor the pod.
yes. Well, Rich, thank you so much for that question of the week. Let's talk a little bit more about Cheers. It feels appropriate that I open something up. There we go.
Yeah, my dog. Finish it.
Let's talk about Cheers, and we're going to start off with a quick synopsis. The regulars of the Boston bar Cheers share their experiences and lives with each other while drinking or working at the bar, where everybody knows your name. Well,
Nice.
I think that does tell us a little bit about what today's episode is about. But Max, can you tell us a little bit more about how Cheers got made?
Today, we are talking about the pilot episode of Cheers titled Give Me a Ring Sometime, which originally aired on September 30th, 1982 on NBC. We're talking about the show's creators, the Charles brothers, and James Burrows a bit. Brothers Glenn and Les Charles and JF and B are the trio who brought us today's pilot. Their partnership begins with their time together on the sitcom Taxi, with Burrows serving as an in-house director on 76 episodes, and the Charles brothers working as producers and head writers for MTM Enterprises, MTM being the production company of Mary Tyler Moore and her then-husband Grant Tinker. The Charles brothers have served as writers on MASH, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Phyllis and Bob Newhart Show, in addition to Taxi, while Burrows began working in stage management for theater in New York before transitioning to directing. He was hired as an in-house director for MTM in 1974 after writing Moore and Tinker a letter, because that's just how things worked 50 years ago.
Yay.
Write a letter. I don't know. Maybe you'll catch someone on a good day. I don't know what to tell you. After working in-house for several years, the trio wanted to strike out on their own and seek to create a new comedy series. The trio considered an American remake of the British series Fawlty Towers, which starred John Cleese, and eventually would use a radio program created by Burrows' father Abe called Duffy's Tavern as a jumping-off point. A bar they thought would provide a continuous stream of new characters, which interested the trio. For their protagonists, they wanted to recreate a Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn type dynamic. As Burrows stated with an interview with the New York Times in 1983, she is uptown, he is downtown. In their pitch to NBC, producers originally shuddered at the concept of a show set entirely in a bar, with fears about depictions of alcohol and network censors. The Charles brothers made it clear that while they weren't actually brothers and sisters, this show would be about family. The role of Sam Malone was originally written as a retired football player, with former Pro Bowl defensive lineman turned color commentator Fred Dwyer considered for the part. Ted Danson was younger, had more acting experience, eventually earning the role, but a year later, Dwyer would be cast as the lead in the NBC action series Hunter, which ran for 7 seasons.
Wow.
Sam was changed to a baseball player and loosely based on Red Sox relief pitcher Bill the Spaceman Lee.
Oh. Oh, you know I'm here for the Spaceman. Savannah Bananas pitcher Bill Spaceman Lee.
We're remembrance of guys. It's TVPL. Lee, kind of nuts, an offbeat athlete who was very intelligent in his own right. Although a star basketball player in high school, Danson knew nothing about baseball and had never even attended a game. On their chemistry read for Sam and Diane, Shelley Long recalls, "When I met Ted, I realized too late my shirt was so blousy I gave him quite the view. I think it got us off to a really good start." Says Danson, I was too terrified to notice she had breasts. I do remember I was eating a sandwich.
From Subway Series. That's where he got it.
We want to thank today's sponsor, Subway Series, for our 150th episode. The original pilot script was actually just the 4 main characters, with subsequent drafts adding in supporting roles we see today. The show is notable for the amount of motion in Burrows' directing style, with characters constantly moving. The cast was told to never assume you're not being watched and to always react to the scene being played. Burrows also insisted on shooting with film over videotape, as was common practice for sitcoms, despite the network's complaints over cost. And finally, exterior shots of the bar are the Bull and Finch pub in Boston, Massachusetts. The bar has become one of the busiest tourist attractions in Boston, and in 2001 renamed itself Cheers Beacon Hill.
After number 2, after the place that Bill Burr threw up once after doing a set.
And just above, the Freedom Trail and Paul Revere.
Yeah, and then the Boston Cop slide.
Well,
Whee!
let's talk a little bit more about this show. One of the things that I think is super interesting about this is this show sort of fakes you out with a mini intro into our cold open of the episode, where we get a little tease. We get a little tease of this song that we've been joking about probably a few too many times already in this episode. So you're going to be tired of it by the time we are done with this episode. But I would love to hear from the two of you about the idea of depicting our setting, right? We are almost romanticizing the concept of a bar as a third space, which we have talked a lot about on this podcast as like being eliminated. But
Right.
how can you not be romantic about a place where you just see it's setting up for the day?
I'll tell you how. George Wendt passes out on the bar in the episode.
Knowing that Burrows comes from theater in New York, and specifically like off-Broadway theater, though, there's so much in this intro that feels indebted to that part of his career. This notion of we are slowly having one character finish setting the stage. We see Sam Malone, Ted Danson, with no dialogue, just moving some boxes, setting up his bar. There's a twinkly, like, overture, this little instrumental, jazzy rendition of the theme song that we're going to hear in a little bit. And it feels a lot like the opening of a play. It feels like we are just kind of beginning as one character steps out, and then we get our first comedic scene, which really has nothing to do with this pilot, but it's just this little vignette that helps us build the world. And there is so much in Cheers that does feel so theatrical, and this really begins that process.
Rich, I want to go to you because the first joke that we get in this pilot is very much about a fake ID, right? A underage drinking, which, as Max even referenced, probably there is someone at NBC who was terrified that they were like, we're going to cover underage drinking on this primetime television show that we were already worried about being at a bar.
And you are 18 years old, as is canon on this podcast in its 150th episode.
Yeah,
right?
you have never had a sip of beer.
And fought in Vietnam. I want to make it also very clear that that's my canon.
I'm curious about, from your perspective, how do you think this does is setting up the humor that we're going to be expecting on this show?
Well, first of all, this kid is a star already. Like, I mean, what an absolute curmudgeonly kid. Like, plays the part perfectly, has a retort for absolutely everything. Really, really nails it. But what you get out of this is that while Sam is going to be strict with what he does, he's going to be playful with absolutely everybody. And when this kid starts spouting off that, like, hands him a military ID that says he's 38, this kid's clearly, like, I don't know, 14.
Maybe. Yeah, on a good day.
It just sets up such a good dynamic with not only the people who are going to be regulars and employees at Cheers, but everybody gets a taste when they walk in. And to add on to this feels like a play thing, you could very easily set up the entire show on a stage with just the bar, and it feels very much the same. You just have a couple like close-up scenes and stuff like that. It just does such a great job of establishing this is the we talk about it a lot. The you teach the audience how to your language for joke patter. It's like, it's the pacing, it's the what to expect out of the style. Like, this is the thanks we get line gets like an ooh from the audience. Like, they're not expecting it. That's like, oh, we're very closely removed from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to get in this. It's like, it's a risky joke, but they really nail it.
Also, calling Vietnam gross, A+.
Yes. Oh.
A+ joke writing.
Ooh, man.
So we get this wonderful, exchange, and then we're thrown directly into this iconic intro that I think is so fun and different from a lot of the stuff we've talked. Because, we get this song that plays nearly entirely in full
Right.
But also we get depictions of the concepts of sort of what Max was talking about, right? The uptown versus the downtown culture of bars as gathering places.
Definitely.
Did you guys enjoy this classic intro, or did you think, I'm checking my watch to see how long it is?
I loved it, and we've all heard the theme from Cheers a million times. I even had a musical theater sheet music book of like audition cuts for men that had this song in that book. Like it is that ubiquitous in like the American canon. We're talking about canons a lot, and not just because this show takes place in Boston. But I never heard this in the context of this pilot. And what I mean by that is how much it serves as like a mission statement for the pilot of Cheers as well. We're telling the audience, like, don't you want to go where everyone knows your name? Like, wouldn't you like to get away? Like that question being posed to an audience. And that's what TV is doing. That's what a sitcom is doing. It's giving you 30 minutes of getting away where everyone knows your name. You're going to be comforted by these characters you're going to come to know and love. And this is a pilot where I think that we get a lot of the things we usually discuss on this podcast way in its third act. But what we do get is a very clear statement to the audience through its theme of like, this is what we're going to do for you in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah. And one little thing that I hadn't noticed up until this rewatch of the pilot, I've seen this pilot a couple times now, is how much I think what we do in the shadows borrowed from this intro for their intro of essentially taking old oil paintings and then putting the cast members in them, because they don't necessarily do that in, there's no people drawing Ted Danson into these paintings or anything like that. But that is like exactly the vibe that they're going for. And I didn't realize that until this rewatch.
Well, we get this intro, but let's talk about the introductions to the characters, because very clearly the cold open, as we discussed, was used to introduce us at least to our narrator of this pilot, who's going to be Sam in this instance. But there are a lot of other characters that we meet throughout this pilot. And I want to start off with, why is today different, right? Today is different. Yeah, NFL draft is happening right now. We really have to debate the Patriots drafting another linebacker. But more importantly, there is a whirlwind engagement that we are watching happen live with a wedding a shotgun wedding of sorts being whisked away to a tropical climate. But let's talk a little bit more about meeting some of these characters today. So, Max, do you want to introduce us to our new blushing presumed bride?
Yeah, and I'm going to actually challenge what you said. I think this show's perspective and who we view it from is not Sam Malone, but it rather is Diane Chambers, played by Shelley Long, that first ensemble member we meet first. And Sam's interesting because Sam is the first person we meet. He's on screen the most. Yet I don't think this show is his perspective. I think that we are following Shelley Long's journey. We're following Diane's journey more. It is her call to action. It is her why is today different that really sets off the back part of this pilot. And I've been trying, this is off topic, but just trying really hard to think of, can I think of another like movie or TV show where the person who's on screen the most is not necessarily the person who's driving the action, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Do you mean like Sam is not necessarily driving the action on this?
Yeah, I think people interact with Sam, but I think every single person we meet has a one-on-one interaction with Diane, and I think it's Diane's story that really kickstarts what this show is going to be after this pilot. To me, this entire episode feels like a prologue for Diane's journey, even though the first person we meet is Sam.
Well, I want to touch on that because I think if we look at this as purely a pilot, right, we have to understand how our uptown girl ended up working at a bar after being a TA in this instance. And that is very, very important. But I feel like most likely, if we were to say, not just be a podcast about pilot episodes, but watch episode 2, we'd be a lot more
That's
ingrained
legal.
in the idea of, we don't know how she ended up here, but she's definitely different from everyone else who either comes to this bar or works at this bar.
But to your first question, Geoff, Diane comes in with her fiance, Sumner Sloan. They are these educated elites. They recite things in French. They talk about poetry, maybe misquoting it a little bit. There's a certain highfalutin attitude. They order a bottle of Moet in this downtown kind of sports bar.
Yep.
And it is, how do these characters fit in amongst this real working class crowd of everyone else? And a lot of the humor early on is derived from that. It's this fish out of water in this working class bar. And that feels like a story that we've seen so many times. It's getting to meet the rest of the people in this ensemble that feels like we're getting into new territory.
And Rich, I want to go to you about some of the other people that we're meeting, because Sam isn't the only one who works at his bar. He also has Carla and Coach. And I would love to go to you to hear a little bit about how you feel these two characters help this pilot.
Coach is, I think, one of my favorite characters I've seen in a pilot or in just like a TV show in general. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think either the first two seasons are the only times we get Coach. Like, Coach had to get replaced because I believe the actor passed away.
The actor passed away.
Yeah, yeah. And what a tremendous job he does with a extremely forgetful like shtick. That is how he's going to like come in. Immediately starts complaining about the Patriots selecting a linebacker in the draft. Has his opinion changed instantly by anyone who comes in to talk to him about it, and has some of the absolute best, just like knock it out of the park, like sitcom punchlines in this. The "Where's your bathroom?" Next to my bedroom. That's just like every single one, just a blank stare at all these people. It feels very Taxi. It feels very like this is a Charles Brothers and James Burrows type character. And
I had an audible guffaw at his line about finishing his novel, and when Diane asks, "You're writing a novel?" and he says, "No, reading." Audible guffaw. I mean, that is a joke that is 60 years old. Like, that is something that you could place in any single decade of American comedy dating back to like the Marx Brothers, and it hits. And they're so simple, these jokes. It's just they're well played, and they're well acted, and they're well reacted, and they're well timed, and there's nothing in this that reinvents the wheel. It's just executed at the highest level, that even more than 40 years after it airs, we're talking about the simplicity and how hard it still hits for us.
Absolutely. And the way that they give him, the way that you get to learn his real name is from someone calling the bar and asking for Ernie Batuzzo, or I think that's what his name was. He's like, is there Ernie Batuzzo? That's you, Coach. Speaking. Like a fucking perfect joke every time.
And then on the other side, we have this antagonist type character of Carla, right? Like, Carla is
Tasmanian devil,
biting, witty humor, like trying to poke the bear at all points in time. Truly, the only one who appears to be working in the bar is Carla as she is waiting tables. But at the same time, every time that Rhea Perlman, comes on screen, I'm expecting someone is going to be made fun of in the most hysterical way possible. And they may cry, but it's also going to be funny.
This is maybe a top 3 intro of any character in a comedy we've covered on this podcast. Agree. She enters at a 10 through that front door, crosses the entire length of that stage at a 10, goes off stage to change, and comes back in still at a 10, never skipping a beat. It is one of the most forceful comedic entries I have ever seen. And it's also just capturing so much of what we see from Burrows on this directing style of, you need to always think the camera's on you, seeing the way that people turn and react to Carla as she enters and exits and moves throughout the space, the way that she is just constantly moving throughout the space. There is no stand and deliver. There is something simplistic. She is moving, a camera is following her, and it's like it's Perlman and Burrows working together to match what the other one is doing. Like there is no stand-in place. This is two people having to just be on it and focus the entire time, and they capture magic.
It's so interesting because like you said, Max, like this is made for the stage. This all these people are very clearly like capable of making a play that looks like this, or just like doing a play together would be absolutely dynamite together. Because you're painting like you're painting a scene every single time that the camera pans out. But I think for, let's say for like Carla, this is like, I've seen this exact opening, like of her just nonstop talking all the way through. No one else can get a word in edgewise. And then her coming back out to introduce someone who's going to be super fiery. Like, I feel like I've seen that 100 times now. And you can see how powerful of an entry that is, that it inspires so many other people to do that.
Well, a bar wouldn't be a bar unless we had regulars, right? And we have two that are introduced in this pilot that really make up the remainder of our cast. We have Norm and we have Cliff. And just quickly want to hit on these two because I think that they're such great characters. To have the guy who is speaking up in every conversation, has all the facts. I like to call them the Jeopardy pro, your local Jeopardy pro, right? They would absolutely dominate in trivia, even if they're wrong or hysterically wrong, but they have the answers and they're playing every time. And then we have the Norm character in this pilot is one of my favorites that we've had as like a tertiary character, right? Like someone who's not going to be driving plot, but is going to be there and is in every scene. Very simply with, oh, I'll have one more before I go home.
Right.
And one more turns into two more and turns into three more. And the audience can get in on the joke of, oh, he'll have another right after that, right? It's such a great and well-written part that only speaks maybe 10 times in the entire pilot, but every single time I was like, oh, George Wendt, bangers every single. He's batting 1,000 right now, like every single time.
And something funny about these two with Cliff and Norm is that John Ratzenberger, Pixar legend in every single Pixar movie,
sure.
He auditioned for Norm and bombed, and then later came back and read and got the role of Cliff. And George Wendt, who plays Norm, came in, had a audition from his agent that was one line of just saying beer. Ends up being charming and delightful, gets to read for this larger part, and gets the role of Norm. I also love this role, and I think, Geoff, you hit the nail on the head of calling Cliff this, the bar trivia guy, the guy who knows everything, who can interject into every conversation, and having him be this blue-collar working-class character, this idea of, like, I'm not saying that he is dumb, like the smart dumb guy, like, the smart blue-collar guy who's such a fun contrast to the really dumb, smart guy of Sumner, who's the antagonist in this. And you have these two people who are societally viewed as very different status, but like when they're in the bar, when they're in Cheers, the hierarchy flips. And Cliff outside these bars' walls may not have the status that Sumner does, but when they're in Cheers, baby, when they go down that staircase, Cliff holds such a higher ranking than Sumner does.
Well, there's one character that we've gotten a brief introduction to.
The kid.
Yeah, exactly. Mainstay, actually.
He's in two scenes.
every single episode, for sure. No, I want to talk a little bit about Sam, because it becomes revealed to us why Sam is a bartender, why Sam is the owner of said bar. And I'm curious for you two. Do you think that this was something we needed in episode 1 to find out, how Sam ended up here? Or could this have been in episode 2, maybe even in episode 3, that we find out that Sam owns a bar based off of some life choices?
The phrasing of "I had to leave the league, I had an elbow problem, I was bending it too much" is
great joke.
Possibly because look, maybe I'll talk more about this once we get into like things that we disliked or whatever. Or I'm sorry, wait a minute moments. Only done 150 of these. I do feel that they address alcoholism in a way that feels real, but also still like a little funny. Like it is, it is so easy for this scenery to get so dark. Like, you are watching people with severe problems in the show, and the only reason that you can still feel comfortable about it in 2025 watching it, knowing that these people are essentially, you're watching people essentially like throw away their lives, lie to their spouses, etc., is that there is like a self-deprecation element to it. There is a, like, Sam knows that it's crazy that he's sober and owns a bar and bought this in like a drinking binge. It is and they just do so in such like a clever like, you know, jabbing way. It's just really nice.
And I just love the phrasing of someone shouting, "Don't you know who this is?" to like a new character, to an outsider. It's one of the moments that feels the most piloty, like the most sitcom-y in this. But yeah, it's posing this question: don't you know who this is? We're going to rattle off 3 facts about him, and then we get a little bit of Sam's perspective on it as well, and then we just move on.
Oh my God, coach going, "Are you kidding me? He was a great pitcher." And then Diane saying, "You were a drunk? Are you kidding? He was a great drunk."
Great drunk. Yeah, that was
unbelievable.
Again, it's the simplicity, it's the repetition, it's the tete-a-tete, it's the pitter-patter. Like, everything of this is so simple. It's just executed so well. They're not trying. It's something that you go back and you're like, they're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but like, in 1982, this is the creation of the wheel.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the idea of, I think one of the things that makes Cheers so beloved, at least in this pilot, is the idea of family, right? We talk a lot about the concept of family, and one of the things you do with your family is you have dumb, silly debates. You have debates that have no merit, they have no weight in your life or anything. So I do have the question for the two of you: what is the sweatiest movie, so that we have a extra 30 or so years on this show to be able to decide it? I'm going to just say it is Pumping Iron, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Pumping Iron, because they are literally sweating buckets in that movie. But you can give me your answers, but I also want to hear, what do you think of these little debates that we're seeing throughout this episode? Because I think it makes the comedy of this show.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't have any weight on the plot of every episode.
There's a uniting element to this, and starting a bar conversation, I mean, is the entire reason that the Guinness Book of World Records exists. But also, like, it just reminded me of this one time I was in Florida and we just started playing this game. Like, me and like the table of people I was at, we were playing this game of like naming a bunch of bands that have numbers in the title, and then naming a bunch of bands that have colors in the title. And then anytime our server would come out, they would come out with more examples, and then they would go into the bar. I went into the bar to use the bathroom. The entire bar is shouting at each other. Like, it just spread like wildfire. Like, and that is really, I mean, there's no better example of like what because the whole pilot is the motion of the pilot is very hub and spoke. Everything revolves around Sam. All these action items revolve around Sam. But this is how we unite the entire wheel.
There's so much here, and anyone who's older than 21 has this as like an evergreen experience where they can relate to. And if you don't have this experience, find better bars.
Or be funnier.
There's so much effective about this. It's an opportunity to involve your entire ensemble. It's an opportunity to rest your storyline for 30 seconds and just reset with this little bit of like goofy around the horn. And it's so funny to be like learning about this pilot, how it got made. This was just from the Charles brothers and Jimmy going around to bars in LA and trying to like take notes on conversations they overheard. And What's the Sweatiest Movie was a thing they heard at a bar in Los Angeles, and it made it into the pilot.
Genius.
And it's so funny, and I love all the suggestions. I am probably in agreement with Norm on it being alien. They are sweating in that space station the entire time in that movie. That is a steamy movie.
I think we might have overtaken it recently with Challengers. Challengers is a sweaty movie. That falls under the categories of movies you can smell.
It's just, Oh, go for it.
I was
Matt.
going to say, a joke that we might not get in 2025, but is very funny to find out. Cliff shouts the movie Body Heat, which is a real movie that Ted Danson was in 2 years prior, and
God,
then
that's so
Burrows
funny.
cuts to Danson's reaction. And it's one of those, like, blink and you miss it, like, inside baseball, in honor of Sam Malone, kind of jokes, but it's just such a fun bit of depth. And I like when a show does something like that.
I never knew that. That's so funny.
They do that
that's
twice in
brilliant.
this when they ask what Shelley Long's deal is, like what Diane's deal is, and Sam says she's a hooker. Night Shift had just come out earlier that year, that summer, and she plays a hooker in that.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
Well, we talked a little bit about Shelley Long at the top. The third act really is all about Diane. It is very clear that it is establishing that Diane is not a one-off character. Diane will be here for the long run. And we're seeing a person in identity crisis for the most part. I'm curious for the two of you, and I'll just show my cards right now. I think Shelley Long's performance in this pilot is the key to this being a successful pilot, because we see a transformation from the moment we see her start to the button that we get at the end of the pilot, which is we will definitely talk about in a lot. But how do you think Diane does as a character of moving this third act along?
I don't think you're showing cards at all, because I 100% agree with you. I think that this entire episode is Diane's perspective. The audience is meant to follow this person's journey more than anyone else. And you're right, she does transform from the person who walks through the doors after we hear the theme music and gets it, the door held by the little boy who served in Vietnam, God bless him, to the version that we see in the very button episode that ends this. She's a totally different character in the span of a day. And yeah, she is powerful. She is the fish out of water, but she's discovering herself. She's learning about where do I go from here? It's all of these calls to action that we've covered so often. It's just it happens in the third act instead of the first. But yeah, this hinges on her in terms of where can the story go.
That's such a great point. And for any writers listening to the way that you, if you're going to introduce a fish out of water character, that is how you get all the other characters to open up about why they're like that. Because otherwise you have to have like a pretty ham-fisted way of people explaining or giving you exposition if you don't have someone who is different and challenges the
like Carla and Diane. You don't have that scene of Carla talking about her no good ex-husband who walked out their 4 kids and how she paid for him to go to TV repair school. You don't need that conversation between Carla and Coach or Carla and Sam. You need that conversation between Carla and Diane, and it's a foreshadowing for Diane as well that she doesn't even know yet.
Can I just say too that like Danny DeVito's character in Taxi pretty closely mirrors this one and Rhea Perlman's character, and the fact that they like found each other probably through a Jimmy Burrows sitcom like is very charming to me. I really love that.
If you were to tell me they were related in their in that TV universe, I'd tell you yes, 100%. They both were part of the same. That family reunion would be nuts. Let's talk about the ending of this pilot a little bit more, because while we see this amazing monologue that's like sort of guided by Sam's character of being offered a job at a bar as what to do next, when you have found yourself with nothing else to do, I find it such a relatable thing for folks who are sort of trying to figure out their second act right now, right? Of the idea of, well, I could never do that, right? I think it is such an interesting, seeing it in 2025 glasses where folks are choosing maybe to leave corporate life and try something entirely different than they've never done before, or maybe even the reverse.
Subway Series.
Invest Sharks. What if I told you that people like sandwiches that have baseball themes? No, but in all honesty, I not only do we get this second act, but we get it in the most hilarious way possible of this big speech about why today's going to be different and why what we're expecting, only to get that 2 tourists have had their bag stolen and need help immediately. Right. I mean, what from you two, how do you like the button of this pilot to sort of send us off and welcome us to future episodes?
You want to go for it, Max?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. We get a fish out of water. We get the academic who's now in the bar world, and she's, rattling off every single bit of her inner monologue to people who not only don't care, but don't know what she's actually telling them. And then just that final cutaway perfectly embodies the Burrows philosophy of the camera is always on you. Just seeing the rest of your ensemble hunched over the bar, cracking up at her futile attempts to make connection with people. And that's what it is. It's about making connection. It's about family, even though you're not related. Yep. And it's about, this is the first day of the next chapter of her life. And it's a very sweet ending. It's a very earnest ending, and it's a very funny ending.
Yeah, there's it's almost like almost like a little nod to the hero's journey, the hero's circle, basically, that they that Marvel uses like a lot. I think it's based on the Iliad, I believe.
Yes. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job, Rich.
Thank you so much. She basically goes through that in the pattern in about like 2 minutes of just like realizing she's incredibly talented at being a bartender or being a server, and then denying it, and then trying it out, failing, and then her all is lost moment is realizing that she can't connect with average human beings, which is it's just perfect. I mean, the entire pilot revolves around, how do I keep Diane in this bar? How much is she gonna fall for Sumner's bullshit that we just keep her in the bar this entire time? And God, they did such a great job of it.
Well, gentlemen, that is our pilot, but I'd love to talk a little bit more about things that you loved about this show, things that you want to give a little bit more shine in regards to this pilot. And Max, you're nodding your head. I want to hear from you.
The way that Ted Danson pulls a cork out of a bottle of wine and says "Magnificent Pagan Beast" is one of the hottest things I've ever seen on TV.
Yeah, I know.
Make that a bottle of natural wine. Max is in, baby. He is.
There's a lot of actors, especially in sitcoms, who have the makeup of tiny person, big head. You see this with your... and they frame really well on camera. They look really great in the shot, and they can pair against Adam Scott's a great example of this. Like Adam Scott and Amy Poehler in Parks and Rec. She's like 5'0". He's only like 5'8", but they frame together great in shots, and he's a small person with a very big head. I saw him once at a theater in person, real big noggin on the guy.
Yeah.
Ted Danson
Dude's got Barry Bond hat size numbers.
Come on the pod.
Ted Danson is a very large person with a very large head. And the way he just takes up space, the way he commands presence. And if you're looking at someone who's going to be behind a bar, who's going to be framed very theatrically, with like a theatricality throughout a lot of this pilot, his presence, his demeanor, the confidence that he exudes in the way that he can stand and lean. It's just watching an actor where there's something, it's like you're not conventionally attractive, but you are very tall and you convey yourself with a certain demeanor that it just adds so many points. It becomes so fascinating. It's like the 80s equivalent of like watching Adam Driver today.
I completely agree. Although Adam Driver in Girls is truly an upsetting type of. He strikes me more as like a Humphrey Bogart with like long hair. Like that feels like his aura in this particular.
They didn't frame him up close. They didn't have him leaning over bars and pulling corks out of wine bottles.
Rich, what about you?
The things I loved. I mean, this is just a. I don't think there's a pilot that has better pacing for jokes that I've ever seen. 30 Rock doesn't do it. Friends doesn't do it. I'm trying to think of other like What We Do in the Shadows pilot doesn't do it. That's like a pretty slow burn. It is like pound for pound the best joke pacing I've ever seen. This is not a heavyweight pilot script. This is a middleweight champion of the world pilot script where they will just beat you to death with jabs throughout the entire 12 rounds. And God, the moment where Carla picks up the phone and says, "Who isn't here?" and everybody's hands go up is maybe one of my favorite jokes that I've ever seen in a pilot. It's fucking perfect. Everyone's so great in this. Coach is unbelievable. I wish we got more of Coach like as it went on. But yeah, I just joke pacing. It's perfect.
I want to talk about the set of this pilot.
Hell yeah.
Because I think that when we talk about like a set, we talk about like, oh, it was well designed. Great. When a set feels alive, that is so hard to do. It is so hard to make because I have some fun facts for you guys. This set was 1,000 square feet large. Like
Wow.
that is gigantic. That is a lot of space to work in.
Yeah.
And throughout this pilot, I was sort of looking for like, is there dead space right on stage? Like with any play that I've ever sat in, I've been like, ooh, we got some dead space over here on the left. Like nobody's there. Like fine.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Have you developed director of photography eyes for throughout the course of this podcast? I'm very
Welcome
impressed.
to going from a sports producer into a TV pilot producer mindset.
Okay.
But I think that the thing that I love about this is that the way that this is filmed makes every single shot look alive. You notice when new patrons come in to the bar, right? Like I have on my like things I'll never be able to do bucket list is be just a day player on Cheers walking into the bar because boy, if they ever rebooted the show, I would move to LA just to do this. Like that would be the only thing. But this set, it's so cool. And like seeing how it was used effectively in this pilot is so damn cool. And if you watch this after watching or listening or watching this episode of TV Pilot's License, just look at the set and how every single person who is on screen is actively moving. And that's credit to Jimmy fucking Burrows, but that's also credit to making this set something that is possible.
And it's like, it's so like the quality of the show aside, it's so ubiquitous now. And that like, if you walk into a theater and you have no idea what is taking place there, but you can see the set and you know it's Hamilton, or you can see the set and you know it's Phantom of the Opera, or like, Jerry Seinfeld's apartment or something like that. It is built specifically for that. It is built like, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's just like perfectly done.
Yeah, you see the non-existent set of Hamilton and people just going in a circle because it has the revolving circle.
They should have put a revolve in the middle of Cheers.
Yeah, they should have put a revolve. Sam is just standing on a revolve the entire pilot. Well, let's talk a little bit more about wait a minute moments, things that cause you pause. And Rich, you said you had a few, so I'm curious. What are your wait a minute moments?
Yeah, I think like it is a difficult dance to ignore the severe alcoholism that's important. That's part of the crew here, and that's just like I watch it with 2025 eyes and know like what the health problems are going to be for all the people in the show. The other one is Sumner shouldn't have come back at all the entire show. The him leaving should have been that should have been Diane waiting the entire time rather than Diane re-getting her hopes up and getting back. But that's my two nitpicks.
Max, what about yourself?
This is not a negative thing, but something that actually made me go, oh, wait a minute, when I saw it, which is it's a character by the name of Ron. And the only line that Ron has in this pilot is, "Good night, Sam. Thanks for lending me your ear." And if you look closely, he very subtly slips a ring back onto his finger.
Oh, wow.
Genius.
And it is a thing that is blink and you miss it. It says so much about Sam without having to hear what Sam says. And I think just to that point you made earlier, Rich, of like, there are these like kind of dark undertones to some of these characters and some of these barflies. I know so much about Ron's story without having never heard Ron speak. I know so much about who Sam is without having heard Sam's side of this. and I get such a powerful visual moment that is gone in a second and a half.
That is such a good eye on that.
When I saw it, I just literally said, oh, wait a minute.
Right.
That's why they call him Max Eagle Eye Singer. I'll give my quick wait a minute moment. Not enough duckboat talk. Where are the duckboat tours? I mean, come on, we gotta go through the harbor and everybody quacks when they pass people. all that stuff. I need more duckboat, and I didn't see a single person drinking tea. What the fuck? Like what's happening in this pilot? No one said
one of you guys is wearing
like,
a three-cornered hat.
Jeff's gonna go home
No-
and binge
no
like
Mark Garcia
300
Parra jerseys
episode
anywhere.
of Cheers. He's gonna binge like 300 episodes of Cheers and then come back and be like, there was not a single duck boat.
I didn't hear David Ortiz mentioned once in this entire pilot,
insane.
and that is upsetting.
He was like a small child when this aired.
You know, he was a big prospect, though, in baseball at the same time. But we do have one more question. This is an in-flight question. Our in-flight question this week comes from a frequent flyer, Lauren. And Lauren asks us, what is your favorite Jimmy Burrows pilot? And since this is our 150th episode, we've done quite a few Jimmy Burrows productions.
That's right.
So I am asking each of you, what is your favorite pilot that we've done? And I'm excluding Cheers for right now because we've talked so lovingly about it, and I want to point people to some of the other things we've talked about.
Ooh, this is such a good question.
Favorite Burrows specifically, I'm going to say Will and Grace. To me, it is the platonic ideal of a sitcom where you have 4 quadrants and you're trying to establish in your pilot how each of those 4 people will interact with each other in scenes as the show goes on. It's a template that's been used for, almost 30 years since that show first aired, and it's very effective. That is the peak ideal of how to set up your 4 quadrants.
Rich?
Just to not take Will and Grace as well, I'm going to go Frasier. Frasier, I think, establishes a character so well that is a difficult spinoff. Spinoffs are hard, because you really have to set up an entirely brand new world for them to exist in that is divorced from Cheers, and they just do it. He just does a perfect job with that.
And Rich, I'm surprised you didn't go with this one, and I'm very happy you didn't.
Yeah.
News Radio. News Radio is pilot episode of television that I can just say is perfect.
Front to back,
it is
perfect.
a perfect introduction to a bunch of characters that you want to hear from all the time, and even if you don't understand how radio works, you understand a workplace comedy, and boy, does that show nail every single factor of it. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for that in-flight question. If you have an in-flight question that you would like to submit, you can always submit those at tvpilotslicense.com. You can also shoot us a text or leave us a voicemail at 213-290-1713. Well, gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about the history of this show as we wrap up. This show had 11 seasons and 275 episodes. That included actually a few 1-hour episodes and the 90-minute finale episode as well. Wow. This show is very historic, right?
Sure.
Like the set was almost put in the Smithsonian at one point, and now it's featured in L.A. as well. But I want to just put some context into the ratings.
Where'd they leave it in L.A.?
They have it in a museum in LA from what I was reading about.
At the corner of Wilshire and La Cienega. Just go by the dumpsters. Go by the dumpsters and the Cheers set is right there.
You too can own a part of Cheers. But as far as the metrics of how popular this show was, in its first season, the show got a 13.1 Nielsen score and was averaging 10.9 million households upon its premiere season. The show then stayed at number 3 or number 4 in the rankings from season 5 through 8. It then got a 24.2 Nielsen score, meaning that in 24% of all homes in the country, this show was on the TV. And here is the fun part, 28.75 million average viewers. The show did peak at number 1 in its 9th season of 11 seasons, which is just bonkers. And that season, it got a 21.3 and 32.7 million viewers on average. Just insane numbers.
And then Sam and Diane's wedding was like top 20 most viewed.
Yeah, it's one of the most watched TV episodes of all time.
With like the match finale.
We talked a little bit about the different topics. Alcoholism was covered in this episode, but the show was also very much not afraid of touching big topics in a slightly comedic way, but in a way that was family friendly, which I think is super important. Max talked a little bit about Fred Dreyer, but also for consideration for the role of Sam was Bill Cosby. Yes, Bill Cosby almost was this delightful character, and nothing bad ever happened because of that. The film was in.
And ironically, you don't want him anywhere near your drinks, and Jimmy Burrows knew that.
The film was actually entirely filmed at the Paramount Stage 25, and it was super cool hearing about how they filmed it. They would get the script on a Wednesday and then film on a Friday, and just super snappy stuff. That's really cool. Bull and Finch, you can still go there today and get a very overpriced beer and take your photo in front of Cheers. Syndication, everyone has an island. This show was shown in 38 different countries, 179 different U.S. markets, and in its first year of syndication got 83 million viewers in 1993.
Take me to Rhea Perlman's island. Do it.
Going back to Max talking about this being on film versus being on tape, that actually played a gigantic thing, and they had to restore the film because it was being played too much due to the syndication efforts of it, and that was all restored in 2001. Finally, let's talk about awards.
Can I interject with one very quick thing? Is that why they call it Long Island? Because of Shelley?
Oh, God. I did want to mention one thing. This show did have an attempted stage version of the show that debuted in Boston. It did not last a full season. It got shut down after, I think, 2 weeks of performances. Now let's talk about awards. 260 nominations, and that led to 78 wins, including 111 Emmy Award nominations. That led to 28 wins, 31 Golden Globes. That led to 6. And I mean, every main cast member won some form of supporting or main actor in a comedy. I would highly recommend it.
Awards.
Yeah, but no surfboards amongst the Boston Harbor. I'm so sorry to tell you both.
Terrible place to surf.
But that is the history of the show. Rich, it is time for your game of the week.
All right. In addition to the history of the show, let's talk about the history of TVPL. I got a couple third anniversary 150th episode questions for you, and I want to see if you can get it. Geoff, a lot of these are stats based, and as you literally cannot help yourself looking up with stats for the show, if you know it immediately, don't answer.
Okay.
All right. First question. Last year, I told you guys I was getting a special guest and read the email on the air. Who was I trying to get, and for what show?
You were trying to get former Vice President Al Gore, and were trying to get him for
The Godfather. Or not Godfather, Sopranos.
The Godfather.
Yeah, The Godfather, the TV show that we all know and love.
Yeah, because Al Gore was flying when the finale was going to air, and HBO got him a special copy of it.
Is this your way of telling us you finally got Al Gore?
Nope, but I think I'm going to email him again this week. All right. Our highest listened guest hosted episode. What is it?
Okay, I know this one off the top of my head. So, Max, who do you think is our most listened to episode?
I'm going to say most listened to episode is going to be, I'm going to say Girls with Rosie Blair.
You were very close.
So
it
close.
Is
one
Gilmore
word
Girls with Rosie Blair.
It is.
Which
we're currently at, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, we are at 1,344 plays.
Yeah. So if you want to get into the fall season, listen to our Gilmore Girls episode, and we'll link that below as a suggested episode to listen to.
Hell yeah. Obviously, our top listening country is the U.S. What's number 2? Is it the U.K., Canada, Australia, Germany, or Ireland?
How fun would it be if it was Australia? But I am going to say it's the UK.
Let's go Ireland.
It is the UK.
All right.
UK and Canada were very, very close. And I'm not sure what happened, but what do you guys think is our second most listened to state in the U.S., and what city do you think it is?
Cleveland. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, let's go with let's go Minneapolis.
Minnesota is our number 3. However, our number 2 is Tennessee, and the number 1 city for this is Murfreesboro. And we have so many jokes about Middle Tennessee State that we make personally, and Middle Tennessee State has ended up being our second highest listened to zone outside of California.
If anyone in Murfreesboro, Tennessee knows a comedy club that would put up the 3 of us for a live taping in Tennessee for no good reason, and you would come to it, if there's like 20 of you that would come to a comedy club near Middle Tennessee State University.
I will fly out. Let's do it.
I'm just here to say, go Eddie George, coach of the Middle Tennessee Lightning. You're doing a great job.
All right, my last question. This is the one I put the most effort into, so please, I appreciate your patience. I added up all the Instagram followers for every single guest we've ever had on this podcast. That number would be about approximately the population of Latvia, Kosovo, Bahrain, or Trinidad and Tobago.
Latvia.
Bahrain.
All close. It is Kosovo. We had the collective Instagram following of our guests is about, including the podcast that they are on, because some of them don't have personal pages, is 1.75 million followers. And I just want to do a very, very quick shout out. Thank you, Karama Donkwa, JW Crump, Rosie Blair, Brendan Sargent, Mary Kate Singer, Spencer Turbiarte, Rachel McKnight, Dylan and Connor McDowell, John Macheski, Gianmarco Cerezi, Dylan Adler, Samantha Gutstadt, Anthony De Almeida, Erica Curry, Greg Young, Louis Aronowitz, Zach Pike, Waleed Mansour, Lana Schwartz, Irene Walton, Ilsa Morales, James Coker, Jasper Lewis, Dan Duddy, and our Chief of Medicine, Dr. Raul Flores, our legal counsel, Ben Shute. That is all of our guests. If I missed you, I am so sorry. But yeah, thank you to all of our guests and all of our listeners.
Well, gentlemen, our flight is coming to a land. But before we go, I have 2 questions for each of you. First, would you watch more Cheers based off of the pilot and the pilot alone? And second, I'm not going to ask you about rebooting Cheers. I'm not going to ask you if we need more Jimmy Burrows shows in our lives, because I think all 3 of us would say yes. I'm going to ask you something a little bit more sentimental, which is we've made it through 150 episodes of the TV Pilot's license. What are you looking forward to over the next year of this podcast? And Rich, I'm going to start you off, as is customary, other than that one time where I really threw you off by having Max go first.
Okay, so obviously watching more Cheers, amazing pilot. We're going to keep going. For this next year of TVPL, I'm excited for the guests. I am excited for the increase in listenership, which has kicked up pretty strongly since this summer. If you look at our numbers, they're like really strong, especially on Spotify. I'm very thankful for all of you guys. Our guests are going to be awesome. We have a couple in the works that I'm very excited about. The guys are very excited about. And I'm definitely also excited for us to eventually do the Hunting Wives. We've all been talking about it for a while. That's going to come up. Everybody buckle up for that one.
Max, what about yourself?
If this isn't a perfect pilot, it's pretty damn close as far as sitcoms go. Mm-hmm. This is an easy yes for me wanting to keep watching. And if you are someone who wants to write sitcoms, this is a pretty good jumping off point. It's a way to go back and just see literally how fundamentals work. Things I'm excited for in the upcoming year. This past year was the first time we did things that had just been airing and like doing stuff as it was coming out, and it was really fun. I loved talking about Paradise in the Pit, and we also covered Running Time, Running Point. So I am excited to be doing things as they air or as they come back for new seasons and being a little more like finger on the pulse with TV now that we're wading into those waters.
definitely.
Yeah, and I will say, Max, I'll one up you and say this is a perfect pilot.
Oh.
This is a pilot where when it ended, I said, "Oh fuck!" I was truly disappointed when this episode ended, and I was just like, "Ooh, okay, let's watch another." But as far as this podcast goes, I am super excited for us to continue to put out really fun stuff that we're proud of. I think that I speak for the three of us when I came up with this dumb idea and approached the two of you on a boat in the middle of the bay of San Diego. You both sort of looked at me like, I guess. And, 3 years in, I think that you are a little bit more bought in than you previously were. So I'm excited to...
Well, we were staring at you like that for reasons that are redacted on this
Yeah,
podcast.
exactly.
I didn't realize that we were redacting them. I was about to ask if we were on drugs.
Oh my Oh my God. But I'm super, what I'll say to our frequent flyers, and if you're here for the first time, this has been a lot of fun. 150 in, and I can't wait for the next 150, in all honesty. We're going to get into some weird shit. We're going to get into shit that you love, and we're going to get into some wacky conversations along the way.
Hell
Well,
yeah.
gentlemen, that is our flight. But before we go, in case folks want to find some place to follow you outside of this podcast, where would you like folks to find you, and where are you comfortable with them finding you?
Jesus.
You can find me making 2 vodka giblets, 1 straight up, 1 blended rocks, 1 Chivas Rocks soda, a Comfortment hat and hold the cherry, a white wine spritzer with a twist, 1 old Bushmill Irish decaf, hold the sugar, and on all things social media at Maxwell Sing.
One word for that, Max. Bars. You can find me being a bitter little person, and you can find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy from Max and I on TikTok at Dadwagon Comedy.
You can find me pitching Subway series and buying the trademark currently as we are speaking. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Jeff Run. If you're looking for the TV Pilots license, you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also see our smiling faces on YouTube. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, leave a review. I love reading them. They're always very sweet. Even if they're not sweet, leave a review. I appreciate the engagement. If you have a question for our episode, maybe the next episode, you can always shoot those to tvpilotslicense@gmail.com. You can go on tvpilotslicense.com, or you can shoot us a text and leave us a voicemail at 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out for some of the stuff that we have coming up, including some really cool guests and some really fun TV. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial.
Norm!